So hello, what is going on? How is everyone out there? Hopefully life is giving you all of the good and none of the bad. What's good on the internet? What's good in sports? What's good in life? The name's Keem, coming back once again with another video. I'm back from my Guntersville, Alabama excursion. If you haven't checked out that video, definitely check that out. Was working an AAU event up there, and definitely want to do more things like that, and also things on a bigger scale in the future. And I definitely plan to certainly document them in the future here on this channel. So definitely check that out whenever you get a chance. Some of my adventures going through Guntersville, Alabama, first time ever in that part of Bama. But I came on here to recap the WNBA draft. Obviously, it took place last night, and of course, as everyone expected, of course, no surprise who was the number one overall pick. No surprise, Paige Bueckers, fresh off of winning a national championship with UConn in her senior season, gets drafted number one to the Dallas Wings. And the thing is, the Dallas Wings are in a very interesting position. It's interesting because if anybody watched ESPN's coverage of the draft, they mentioned how I think 105 of the current players in the WNBA are set to be free agents. Well, among those free agents is Arike Ogunbowale. So, is it going to be one of those situations where Paige comes in and Arike is kind of like that long-term mentor to Paige? Or is it a situation where Arike decides, okay, I'm going to take my talents elsewhere, and Paige gets the keys to the franchise? So we shall definitely see, but it is an exciting time to be a Dallas Wings fan. With Paige coming in, they're supposed to be moving to a new arena in downtown Dallas, and they're going to be moving out of Arlington, I believe, after this season. So certainly exciting times ahead for the Wings, and hopefully that is something that certainly translates itself into victories for the Wings, who of course had a little bit of a down season from a couple of years ago when the Wings challenged the Las Vegas Aces, I believe, in the semifinals for a berth in the WNBA finals, which that year was 2023, and was eventually won by Las Vegas when A'ja Wilson and company went back to back. So definitely exciting times ahead for the Wings. And moving on to the second pick, Dominique Malonga to the Seattle Storm. Now, most of these draft boards originally had Olivia Miles going number two, but of course, Olivia Miles not only decided to stay in college, but decided to enter the transfer portal of all things out of Notre Dame and decided to go take her talents to TCU of all places. And I'm going to get to a certain TCU draftee in a little bit. But Dominique Malonga, the highest ever player drafted out of France, and she's 6'6", and she can dunk, and she's already getting comparisons to Wemby. She's already getting comparisons to Victor Wembanyama. So definitely Dominique Malonga. That's one thing that it looks like the Seattle Storm won't have much of a problem with, is interior depth. When you look at Nneka Ogwumike, when you look at Ezi Magbagor, and when you look at now Dominique Malonga, definitely the Seattle Storm, certainly it does not look like they will be hurting for bigs any time soon. And as far as the Washington Mystics are concerned, I believe they had 3 picks. I believe they had the 3, the 4, and the 6. And they drafted Sonia Citron out of Notre Dame with the 3. I believe they took Kiki Iriafen from USC with the 4. And then with the 6, they took Georgia Amoore from Kentucky. So definitely, and the thing is, all 3 of them, there's a good chance all 3 of them could be in the starting lineup, because remember, the Washington Mystics are in a rebuild. They are definitely in a rebuild. Like I said, Elena Delle Donne just announced her retirement, and they're definitely in a rebuild. So they're trying to put pieces around Shakira Austin and Aaliyah Edwards to see what could very well be the future of the Mystics. So they are definitely another one of those certainly intriguing teams for sure. The Golden State Valkyries, of course, they so many of these draft boards were thinking that they were going to go with Aneesah Morrow out of LSU, but they didn't go with Aneesah Morrow out of LSU. The Golden State Valkyries are definitely going to be the most, I believe, internationally laden team in the WNBA this year. I mean, they're definitely an expansion team, so they're expected to struggle. They're probably only going to win, somewhere between, I don't know, maybe 10 to 18 games probably this season. So not much is really expected out of the Valks this season, but it was expected they would go with Aneesah Morrow. Instead, they ended up, passing on her. And I forgot the person's name that they eventually took, but I think it was somebody out of Lithuania that they eventually went with. And Aneesah ended up dropping to the Connecticut Sun. By the way, another rebuilding team. I mean, the Connecticut Sun pretty much lost their entire team over the offseason. So they're definitely going to have a new look. I mean, they even have a new coach. That's another thing about this offseason. There definitely was a lot of coaching movement. So definitely intrigued by what is on the pike for the, what's coming down the pike as far as the Connecticut Sun is concerned. Another pick that definitely I think is a very intriguing one is what the Chicago Sky did. And the Chicago Sky, they went with the 11th overall pick, and they ended up drafting Hailey Van Lith out of TCU. Now, I think that is definitely a really good pick, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I remember seeing a lot of draft boards that were saying that HVL probably is going to go maybe to the LA Sparks, but Chicago makes sense to start her career. And the reason why Chicago makes sense is because two main reasons. Number one, she's a former teammate of Angel Reese's at LSU. And of course, they got Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso. Not to mention, she can have somebody, a veteran like a Courtney Vandersloot, really take her under her wing to ultimately assume a leadership role with that franchise. So one thing about Chicago is that they're young. And just because they're young doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that they're not dangerous. They definitely are dangerous. Chicago probably would have made the playoffs last year if not for some health issues that they encountered down the stretch. So I'm intrigued as well as far as what we could very well see out of the Chicago Sky this season. Could very well be, like I said, they could very well be a playoff team. I think it's certainly a possibility. But yeah, I mean, when you look at so many of these picks, I mean, you ended up having three players from South Carolina that ended up getting drafted. And I think there was like 3 out of 4 picks in the second round when they ended up getting drafted, including Te-Hina Paopao, going to the Atlanta Dream, Bree Hall to the Indiana Fever. So definitely for sure, a lot of South Carolina drafted. Saniya Fagan as well, also drafted to the LA Sparks. So a lot of South Carolina drafted, a lot of UConn drafted as well, not just Paige, but Caitlin Chen to the Golden State Valkyries. Aubrey Griffin, I believe, was selected by the Minnesota Lynx. So certainly lots of intriguing draft picks. And, it's one of those things where there's certainly going to be a lot of talk as far as who won the draft, who lost the draft, who are the big winners or whatever. And then the Las Vegas Aces, they ended up getting a steal of the draft when they ended up selecting Harmony Turner. And really when you think about it, Harmony Turner, it was really one of those situations. She really put herself on the map this past year when it came to March Madness. So huge for Harmony Turner to go to the Aces. But one thing's for sure is that I definitely believe as well that Diamond Johnson should have got drafted. I mean, we saw what she did not only at Norfolk State, but we saw what she did as well at Rutgers and NC State. She is a WNBA player, and she's definitely going to get an invite to somebody's training camp. And even if she doesn't make a roster, then it'll be one of those things. I think she'll ultimately make a roster, maybe even one of these upcoming expansion rosters. She'll ball out probably either at Unrivaled, or I could see her balling out maybe at Athletes Unlimited, and she could end up making one of these rosters. So definitely for sure, somebody should have drafted Diamond Johnson, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, so many intriguing selections in this draft for sure. So what were your thoughts on this draft? And do you think that maybe the WNBA kind of dropped the ball when it came to promoting this draft? Rate, comment, react, reply, add and subscribe, because we know all of the circumstance that went into last year's draft, which of course had Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Camila Cardoso, Rakia Jackson, Cameron Brink. I mean, that is going to be a draft class, the 2024 WNBA draft class that we talk about the same way we talk about the 2003 NBA draft class, which of course had LeBron and Bosh and Wade and Melo. The same way we talk about that draft class, we're going to talk about the 2024 WNBA draft class in the same vein. And the WNBA especially needs to get it right for future draft classes, because you got Flau'jae Johnson coming up in an upcoming draft. She markets herself. She is a name that sells herself because she bridges the gap between music and sports. Definitely got to give her some love. And of course, you got Juju Watkins. Now, of course, Juju suffered an unfortunate setback this year in March Madness with that injury that she had suffered. But Juju's going to come back. She's going to be bigger than ever. She's the biggest thing going on in the women's college game since Caitlin Clark. In fact, Caitlin Clark, I remember reading an article, Caitlin Clark, after she got, Caitlin Clark ended up mentoring Juju Watkins on how to really carry that torch for the women's game, because right now she's the biggest thing that the women's game in the college ranks currently has. So definitely got to get it right for Flau'jae, and definitely got to get it right for Juju. Roll out the orange carpet, both literally and figuratively, for these GOATs in the making. So once again, rate, comment, react, reply, add, and subscribe. Once again, more of a traditional video, as I am indeed back home. But yeah, definitely want to do more of these on-site, on-the-road vids as well. So until next time, hope everybody is doing great, and hopefully everybody out there is, like I said, just living life and embracing love. So until next time, this is Keem signing off. See you on the internet someplace.